This is good snow. This is bad snow. And I'm AverageSnow, and welcome back to Hardcore, where in the last episode we made this gorgeous barn to ramp up our food supply. And essentially it's just a nice looking slaughterhouse, because pretty much all we do is breed up these cows, chop them up into small pieces, and once we've cooked them up, we have a little bite to eat. In the last episode we also made this nether portal tree, which I am totally in love with, and took our first trip to the nether, where we got this totally insane spawn. And while we're here, I want to pick up a few more blaze rods for some potions. So what on earth do you need potions for, I hear you ask?
What on earth do you need potions for?
Well, random voice in my head, I'll show you. Now I do plan eventually to do the whole villager book thing, which I probably should have done by now, and of course needs a whole bunch of XP. And whilst we do have a spider farm, there's something else in the game which can provide XP a little bit quicker this early in the world. Which is this thing in the distance, an ocean monument. And we're going to turn this into a big old guardian farm. But before we can do that, we're going to need to defeat those big scary elder guardians. And to make our lives easier, I need to grab some water breathing and some invisibility potions, which is what the blaze rods were needed for. And for those potions, we need some golden carrots and some pufferfish. And I have a bunch of gold from mining, so the golden carrots are sorted because we've got carrots from our farmland as well. But the one thing I don't have is pufferfish. So let's do something that's really exciting and do a spot of fishing. So we got the pufferfish, and we're going to get some other bits that we need for the potions. So we need some nether wart that we picked up in the last episode. We're going to need some sugarcane, some brown mushrooms, and some spider eyes. We're also going to need some redstone to make the potions a little bit longer. And then from down here, we're going to need some carrots and some gold for golden carrots. Let's make some potions. So now the potions are required. Before we can make this guardian farm, we need to take out those big guys. And that means we need to do something that you should never really do in a hardcore world. And that's take off our armor and our shield. And then we can pop these potions. And the other one. And then we'll hop back into the boat. And let's go off and try and kill these guys. Well, there you go, 3 Elder Guardian trophy heads acquired using a bow to avoid thorns like a genius, along with a bunch of sponge and gold, and to be honest, with potions, the hardest thing was navigating the monument, which is a complete maze. And seeing as it's night time, I think we'll make the farm a little bit later. Let's have a quick sleep, and then I've got something a lot more interesting for you. This is pretty cursed. And that more interesting thing is... Snow does something from the comments you can join in too. Yeah. Yes, once again, it's the horrifically catchily named Snow Does Something from the comments section. And this time it all relates to this little area here next to our nether portal tree that we built in the last episode. Now in that last episode, I mentioned that this naturally generated circular area here will be a really cool area for like a pond or something like that in a future episode. Well, the future has arrived. And that's all thanks to this comment from Noobity Noob, who came up with an amazing idea to make a never-infested pond spilling out from the portal tree. And you know what? That is such a good idea. It's really close, and we could do some really cool funky things with all the different blocks from the nether. Which means we need to head back through there. But wait! We need to replace this thing, because 7 durability in the nether is not going to get us very far. So let's make ourselves a better piece of gold armor. I hate the nether. But after psyching myself up, I did eventually go in and was greeted with a nice calming hug from this guy before peering over the wall at what faced us, which is mainly these hoglins who I absolutely hate. So after killing them, I decided to change approach and I went up to about Y100 and just mined in the hope that I would come across different biomes. And it worked. We tunnelled into a basalt delta, picked up some magma blocks, but being up that high does have its dangers, like this scary sight. Went back to drop off some blocks, and this dude was just chilling in the overworld, so dealt with him and headed back to continue tunnelling, where unbelievably we came across some ancient debris. Not just one, but two. I didn't even know it could generate up that high, to be honest. Here's me feeling very proud of myself. Anyway, carried on tunnelling and found what I was after, which was the warped biome. Gathered up some materials whilst being careful of the Endermen and saw this fortress, which there was no chance I was dealing with today. Got the last thing I was after, which is the twisted vines, and then ran home with a sword in my hand, which is something you should never do in real life. Gazed at the beautiful materials before getting started on the nether pond, for which I had no real plan for, to be honest. I just started placing blocks, grew a crimson tree which was way too big, so built a couple of custom ones, along with some lava and a little bridge. And here is the final nether pond complete, and I don't know about you, but I think it looks pretty awesome. It was nether in doubt. But like I said, there wasn't much of a plan to this, other than that I knew that having the steam coming out would really add something with a little bit of movement. So there's some campfires underneath the blocks under the water. We've also got the magma blocks, and that gives the bubbles, which adds a little bit more as well. We've got some of the warped blocks creeping up, sort of infecting this overworld tree, and also a couple of little custom crimson trees, which is the perfect place for a little sign thanking the person who suggested the idea. Thanks, noobity noob. And remember, if you have any cool suggestions, leave them in the comments, and it might be your idea next time. Also, come here. Closer. Subscribe, please. Anyway, now back to the ocean monument, which we defeated earlier, and time to make a Guardian XP farm. But for that, I need some soul sand, which means I need to go back in there. So I'll quickly do that, and then we can finally make this farm. Soul sand acquired, and lots of it as well, along with a load of other bits and bobs, and we are ready to make this Guardian farm. And trigger warning, this is going to be proper ugly, because I'm not going to decorate this today. I just really want that XP. Now I'm going to be using a tutorial from Mine the Fab, which I will link. I know there are newer types of farms with portals and stuff like that, but I've done this one before and I know it works a treat. So if you want to see how to build it, go and watch his tutorial, and I'm going to get cracking with building it myself. It is done, and I told you it was ugly, didn't I? If I F4, you can see that it's basically just a massive pipe of birch planks, and I can't really think of any way that I can make that look good. Although I could make this look better, so at some point in the future I will decorate this to make it a little bit less, well, rubbish. But that is not a job for today, as making the farm was much scarier than actually defeating the Elder Guardians, to be honest. Trying to stay topped up with invis and water breathing potions before the Guardians start shooting whatever it is that they shoot at you was not particularly fun. What is that stuff that they shoot at you? But it works a treat, and as you can see, it racks up the XP very nicely indeed. Although you do take a fair bit of damage from the Guardians through thorns, which is a bit annoying and can do a bit of damage to your gear, so we are going to need to sort this out because it's not going to last very long. But before we start preparing for that, let's hop back down here. You can see we've got a little collection system going, which we're going to need to increase because that's not going to last for very long, and a portal which takes us back to our base area, so let's head back there quickly, and I've got something else to do over there. And the thing that I want to do is something that's going to help to bring my heart rate back to normal levels. In the last episode, we made this barn and a little stables on the side. So for no particular reason other than the fact it's going to make our barn look good, let's go and find a couple of little horses that we can move in. Which can probably be this guy, not this guy, and then also maybe these guys. Lovely stuff. Much better. If you've got any ideas for names for these little guys, let me know in the comments. So now we're feeling a little bit more calm. Like I said a minute ago, we've got a need to beef up our gear. We've now got a plentiful supply of XP. We've also got iron and fish from the Guardian farm that we can use for trading. So I think it's time that we started preparing for a bit of a villager trading setup. So today we're going to start that process by building a villager breeder. And this time, instead of being horrifically ugly, we're going to make it look awesome with a big build around it, which means it's resource gathering time. When I say resource gathering, what I actually mean is finding a geode for the first time so I can gather up some calcite, and then spending about an hour in my little storage room crafting up a whole bunch of materials because I actually had everything I needed in here already. And as well as that, we've also placed out some copper to oxidise and flattened out an area over here just by the river opposite the village. And that's where our build is going to go, mainly so it can go next to our super aesthetic bridge. So instead of standing here chatting, shall I just do the build? Villager Breeder Tower is complete, and I think it looks pretty awesome perched by the river behind me. And I want to show you this build, but I think I'm going to have to use free cam because it's so big, if I get too close, you can't really see it all. So you can see that I went with a different block palette to the rest of the area, mainly because I really wanted to incorporate some of the blocks that we managed to get today. So I've gone for more of a fantasy inspired roof with a bunch of the prismarine and the warped blocks in there. And we've got the calcite, and I've even managed to find a use for some diorite in the tower. And then we just got a standard stone type tower with all the mossy stuff at the bottom to make it look a bit worn. And if I take you inside up to the first floor, you can see we've got a little interior set up, and we've got our villager breeder all set up. Now, I purposefully didn't show you me moving the villagers, mainly because of the villager induced rage. And this is sort of your standard villager breeder that I've used before. I'll link the video for it in the description, but I wanted to make it a little bit more fun than your standard one where they just drop into a glass tube. So if we grab some bread and we drop some of this for these guys to have a little bite to eat, and then we wait patiently for some love hearts. There we go. Now let's hop back downstairs, and you can see that we have a big puddle of water down here. So eventually, when they have a baby, there you go, they drop straight into the water and they flow into that central block over there. So when we want to move them, rather than trying to fudge a minecart into the corner of the tower where they drop into, I'm just going to need to run a minecart underneath that block, and that should catch them, and we can move them to wherever we want to move them to. It's like a well-oiled production line, just with living beings. And obviously a tower is a pretty good shape for a villager breeder, but it also has some other uses. Because it doubles up as a beautiful vantage point so we can see our whole area looking beautiful. It also shows the old village, which is not looking so beautiful. We might have to do something about that at some point. Oh yeah, and this is completely empty, so if you can think of any ideas what we could put in here, let me know. So soon, hopefully we can use some of our new villagers to get mending and sort out these tools, because they're looking a little bit worse for wear now. But that's going to have to wait for the next episode, because, well, this one's finished. Thanks for watching. See ya!